Welcome to Filmmakers Focus. I'm Doc Kennedy, and this week's special guest is Mark Allen, and we're going to be talking about overcoming challenges. I know that this episode is going to inspire you. Mark's story has inspired me, and this is the type of episode that you don't have to be in the filmmaking industry to get something out of. But it does so happen that Mark is a screenwriter, director, producer. So hang on tight, because Mark has loads of wisdom to share with you. And on the topic of overcoming challenges, I just want to take a moment to encourage you. I know that we've all got something going on. We've all got some sort of challenge in our life. And I just want to encourage you that it may seem bleak right now, or it might just seem, a little difficult, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And just persevere. It's going to be worth it. This industry that we're in, it's unique, it's special, it's different. And with that comes responsibility, and that means that there's going to be more challenges. So don't be surprised when they come. Take them on. To whom much is given, much is required. You don't need to be thinking that you're the only one out there that's taking on these challenges. We all are, and it's all challenges of different kinds. Some might be health related, some might be money related, it might be relational. We've all got different stuff going on, but it's the perseverance. It's the people that persevere that will end up coming out on top. And really for me, I've succumbed that life is, I heard it put this way once. You're either in a storm, coming out of a storm, or heading into a storm. And that's kind of how things are, It's not always smooth sailing. Rarely is it. But enjoy those times when you're on top, and things are going well, because some other challenge is going to come along. But the great thing about that is those challenges are what's going to make you the better person, the better filmmaker, the better everything. Husband, father, wife, mother. It's going to make you better at all that stuff. So take on those challenges with a smile, best you can, and know that you're not in it alone. Reach out to your friends for support. Sometimes you just need somebody to talk to. So just reach out to people. If you don't have anybody that you can reach out to that you don't feel like you can talk to. I love talking with people, and I love listening, hearing your story. So I want to open that up to you. If you need someone to talk to, feel free to reach out. I got absolutely no problem with that. But just find someone that you can vent with, just hash things out with. Sometimes you just need to voice things, to hear it from, sometimes you just need to hear it out of your own mouth to have it help make sense. So I hope this encourages you. I know this entire episode will. And let's just dive into our conversation here with Mark Allen.
And now our feature presentation.
Welcome to Filmmakers Focus, Mark.
Thank you, Doc. I'm happy to be here.
I met you the other night at our local meetup and had a great time there. I love getting together with other filmmakers, other writers, producers. We had actors there. Just a blast to get around these people that are doing the same stuff that we are.
Yeah, me too. It's a great shot in the arm. It really is, because a lot of times we work alone and we start to think that maybe we are alone. So it's good to get together and realize that there are other people like us out there, and that we're actually close by.
That is spot on, Mark. I could not agree more. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? When did you get started in the filmmaking industry?
Working guy putting out product, that's been since 2005.
Okay.
When I shot my first movie. I started working on the craft of screenwriting back in 1994.
Okay.
And I had written my first screenplay, my first feature screenplay, by 1995. I was going through a divorce at the time, and I had to reassess my life and kind of reevaluate, what I really wanted to do. Because I knew, I assumed that I was going to finish my military career and that I'd live long enough to do that. But, the big question for any career military guy or gal is, what the hell do I do once I'm no longer in the military?
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, career military types, don't really ask that question of themselves until they're like 6 months from retirement. You know, it's usually kind of a good thing to have that question already answered. So yeah, I started I started reading screenwriting books and, all the typical stuff. I read Sid Field, I read Straczynski, I started writing. I took a couple of learning annex seminars that were happening in the San Diego area at the time. And, I got the basics. And then it was just writing script after script after script and just trying to get better. And, you start learning more about the craft and the people who are in it. And a big thing for me was finding out about a website called Drew's Scriptorama. And it is a website where they post feature film screenplays and teleplays for TV shows that have already been done. I read the screenplay for Interview with the Vampire, which was written by Anne Rice, who had also written the novel. And you start reading screenplays for movies that got made and were successful. You can glean a lot of tricks of the trade in those scripts because obviously the men and women writing them are working professionals. And as a newbie, that's where you want to be. So you got to read. It's more than just writing screenplays. You've got to read, and you have to be able to step outside yourself and say, okay, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What do I need to work on? And you continue on.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I use a different website, but yeah, the value in reading those screenplays is way up there. My biggest issue is that I don't enjoy reading. So, and I don't think I'm alone there. There's a lot of people that fall into that trap, but you just got to force yourself into it.
Because in order to be a good writer, you have to be a voracious reader. You really do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Did you start working on set then?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I wrote, produced, directed, and edited my first film.
Okay.
And I'll tell you something. The best thing that I ever did for my screenwriting career was I directed a feature film from a script that I wrote, because I learned there's a whole world. There's this huge gulf between what looks good on the page and what you can actually do when you're on set. I will never forget, as long as I live, standing on location out in the desert in Imperial County. My cast is standing in front of me. My crew is standing behind me. They're waiting for me as the director to make a decision on what scene we were going to shoot and how we were going to do it. And, I had a breakdown and a schedule and all. I knew what scene I needed to shoot. But I'm looking, all these people are standing around looking at me, and I'm looking at the script that I myself wrote. And I'm going, what the hell was I thinking when I wrote this? And then the next thing is, okay, I know what I wrote. Now, how the hell do I capture this on video? And it was a problem. Now, luckily, it was a problem I was able to solve, and we got the movie made. But I will never forget that sense of panic.
So it gave you a different perspective.
Yes, it made me realize as a writer what a director needs in that script when he's on set, so that he can keep things moving along.
That was a huge boost, was directing, as a screenwriter, was directing your own writing. So then I'm curious if it also helped you gain credibility
In a way. Getting that first movie done gave me a bit of a boost. It gave me some momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to capitalize on it, of course, but there was some bad timing involved, and that was out of my control. After Delirium had been picked up and it was out there, I was lining up money to do my next. I was going to produce and direct. It was a film, but I was early grade. Getting more money. I was going to do the movie for about $125,000.
What did you do Delirium on? What type of budget?
95-page script,
Mm-hmm.
9 days, $9,000.
Oh, wow.
I worship at the altar of Roger Corman, okay? And, man, that's all you need to know right there. I had investors lined up. I had about 5 or 6 investors that were gonna put up the budget, and I was gonna shoot in 2008. Well, we all know what happened in 2008. The economy collapsed, and just within less than a week, every investor pulled out, and the movie didn't happen. And I was overextended a bit financially, and that led to some stuff, and everything just fell into a fallow period. I couldn't get anything going because the economy was so bad, and there was absolutely no private equity money out there at the time, certainly not for something as risky as film. And things didn't really get going for me again until about 2011. I finally got Early Grave made. I was strictly a screenwriter and a co-producer on that. I partnered with 2 or 3 other production companies, and it was directed by someone else. And they shot it on the East Coast. They shot it on Peaks Island, which is off the coast of Maine. And that movie came out in 2013. And it's still available on DVD. In 2014, I got my cancer diagnosis, and everything had to come to a screeching halt. While I went through treatment and surgery and everything.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about that. So, you're cruising along in your career, and all of a sudden you get this, what might seem like a death sentence, and you're having to go through this. What was your thought process as you're going through this, the cancer time?
I fell back into combat mode, really. I felt the warrior mentality took over. And my thought was, I've survived Saddam Hussein. I've survived Muammar Gaddafi. I've survived the cocaine cowboys in Central America. I'm going to survive this. This is just another enemy that I have to kill before it kills me. That was my thought process after. Well, it took me 2 or 3 days to really kind of get over the shock. It's kind of like getting hit in the chest with a sledgehammer, getting the diagnosis. But once the panic subsided, I just dug in my heels. If I was going to die, I was going to die fighting. I was not going to back down.
Were you still writing during that time?
I was working on a vampire screenplay, and I had promised myself rather early on that I would never write a vampire story or a zombie story unless I could truly find something new to do with it, because the horror market is glutted with vampires and zombies. Vampires, because they're easy to do, you just throw in some contact lenses and a pair of fangs, and you're off and running. With zombies, they're so popular right now. They're kind of the pop monster of the moment. If you look at the material, a lot of it is not very good. It's all the same basic scenario where you've got people holed up in one location, or people who are trying to get from one location to another, and they're surrounded by zombies. Settings change, but the underlying story stays the same, and that's why I don't watch zombie movies anymore, because there's nothing really new and interesting out there, in my opinion. Now, some would take me to task over that, but that's how I feel. And the same thing with vampires. So I was working on this vampire script, and I was 40 pages in, and I realized I was still only about halfway through my first act. And knowing story structure for a 3-act screenplay, I knew I was in serious trouble. My wife read it, and she said, "Mark, you're not writing a screenplay. You're writing a novel." And what I did is that I took those 40 pages, got into Microsoft Word, started writing it as a novel, and everything fell into place. So I've written a novel that is yet to be published, but things should be happening with it soon. I wrote a novel, it's kind of an action adventure police detective mystery, but the main character is a vampire. And I wrote it kind of as a protest to the current vampire themes that we've seen over the last several years.
Is this book out?
No, it is not published yet.
Okay.
I'm still doing a final edit on it.
Okay. And then what are you working on right now, Mark?
I have a script that I've been able to become part of a team. I'm working with business partners in Los Angeles and Las Vegas.
Okay.
Trying to get funding for the movie, and we're trying to raise enough money so that we can shoot on location in Texas.
Okay.
And very, very fortunate. My business partner is also my literary manager. He's a man by the name of Chaz Shearer, and he's the founder of AQA Entertainment in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So we've got some things going with that, and we're hoping to line up the funding that we need, and we're hoping to be on the ground in Texas in principal photography in the spring or early summer of next year.
And what's the name of that project?
The name of that project is Isolation.
Okay.
And it's a supernatural thriller. It's about a renegade DEA agent who is on the run from law enforcement and from the Mexican drug cartels that he has double-crossed. And he finally gets held accountable for the sins of his past by the ghosts of his past, both the living and the dead.
Oh, wow. Pretty intense. What's the reason for shooting in Texas?
A couple of reasons. One, I was born and raised there.
Okay.
So there's a sentimental thing. But Texas has some of the best film incentives and financial rebate programs anywhere in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we always hear about Georgia and Louisiana. We hear about Washington State. We hear about Michigan and a couple of other places, Puerto Rico. But Texas has a really generous incentive program. If you meet their qualifications for, like, Texas content,
mm-hmm.
You have to have 70% of your cast and 70% of your crew have to be Texas hires. They have to be local Texas hires.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can meet that criteria, it opens you up to all these incentives, discounts, and rebate programs, some tax rebate programs. And what Texas can do is Texas can stack them one on top of the other.
Okay.
And you can wind up saving, if you spend wisely and play your cards right, you can wind up getting rebated about 25%
Wow.
of every dollar you spend in the state. That gets into some serious buckage.
Well, that's a pretty good why for shooting there.
It's going to help us stretch the budget. We'll be able to make the movie look much bigger, with more production value.
Let me ask you, we have a lot of listeners that are in Washington State. You and I are both in
Mm-hmm.
Washington State. What are some
Yeah.
of the best incentives that you see? Because you came out of California recently. You've been in Texas. So what's some of the advantages that you're seeing in Washington State?
Washington State does have an incentive program. I'm going to hopefully, in the not too distant future, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years, shoot some independent films up here. I have a couple of screenplays that would actually be very, very good for here. They're currently set in the desert because I had access to desert in Southern California. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to adapt those scripts so that instead of being in the desert, they're in the forests of the Pacific Northwest, because where I'm sitting, I've got forests on 3 sides of me where I live right now. So I'm going to bring it up here so I can hire local talent, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, start setting up my network of other producers and executive producers so that I can start getting in contact with potential equity investors, financiers, so that I can shoot movies up here. Now, the Washington State program, I don't know as much about it as I do the Texas program, but there is a film incentive program here, and all you got to do is go to the website, read their rules, follow their rules, and get money back. The great thing about these incentives is, during principal photography, everything's running smooth and everything. And you fill out all the paperwork at the end of principal photography. It goes to the state, and they have to make sure that everything meets their standards. And then, 60, 90 days later, the rebates start coming back to you. And that's at the perfect time, because by then you're deep into post. And there's 2 things that you always run out of in post. You always run out of time, and you run out of money. And it doesn't matter whether your film is a $50,000 budget, a $2 million budget, or a $200 million budget. You always run out of time, and you always run out of money in post. So getting that rebate back when you're deep in post is enough to, push you through to the end, get picture lock, get sound lock, get it scored, and start working on the deliverables. And as you and I both know, the list of deliverables just gets longer and longer and longer every year. And by getting longer, it means it also gets more expensive. Film incentives are out there, man. All a young filmmaker has to do is go type in the state of choice and then just type in film commission or film incentives and see what comes up.
I really like your perspective, Mark, because you're coming as someone who started later in life. What advice would you give to people, no matter what their age, but mainly talk to the people that would be in your age bracket? They want to get rolling. They have this dream. They want to go after it. What's your advice for them?
Don't wait for it. Don't wait for someone to give you permission. Don't waste years and years looking for opportunity. Create your own opportunity. Be proactive. Just do it. You are not too old to start another career. It is never too late to reinvent yourself. And I'm living proof. I was career military, about as far away from the film industry as you could possibly think, other than me plunking down my money to go see movies. It is never too late. Talent knows no age. It doesn't know gender. It doesn't know skin color or political views or sexual orientation or any of that kind of stuff that people will tell you bars you from doing a certain thing. Bag that, man. You can do anything you want.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice is, decide on what your passion is and then make a battle plan of how to achieve it. Once you have a goal, once you have your strategy, your end game, then you figure out the tactics, the step-by-step progression to get you to your strategic goal. Once you make your plan, work the plan. And it's simple. It is not easy. Easy and simple are not the same thing. Working your plan might take months. It might take years. Case in point, look at me. I'm still working my plan because I have not achieved what my end goal is yet, but I'm still working my plan. You just got to keep pushing on, because in this business, no one's going to give you anything. Okay. You have to earn it. You have to take it. And I don't mean taking it from someone else, because that's not right, but you can take advantage of opportunity. So what you have to do is work at your talent, work at your skill, learn your craft, network, meet people of a like mind and similar passions, and network with them, cultivate those relationships so that when an opportunity arises, you're ready to pounce on it like a duck on a June bug.
Well, this has been awesome, Mark, and I appreciate you taking your time, coming on and sharing your wealth of wisdom with our listeners. How can people get in touch with you?
There's a couple of ways that people can get in touch with me. They can contact me directly through my email address, which is tinfoilhatproductionsllc@gmail.com, or they can contact me through my representation. Chaz Shearer is my literary manager. His email is chazshearer@gmail.com, and Chaz Shearer is spelled CHASSCHERER@gmail.com.
Awesome, and we'll have links to that and your IMDb at the show notes at duckkennedy.com. And we'll just say goodbye. Thank you again, Mark.
Thank you. It's lovely doing this. I'm glad you had me on.
Man, that was some good stuff Mark had to share. I love that. He's definitely the real deal. If you can do us a favor, this would be a huge favor. Please share this episode with people you know it could impact. That might be somebody that's in the filmmaking industry, screenwriter, whatever that may be. Or it might be somebody that's outside of this. Maybe it's someone that has cancer, or it's someone that's fighting some sort of battle that they just need some encouragement with. Would you please share this with them and just help them have that little bit of hope that Mark is able to share with us? So everyone, have a super week. We'll see you on the next episode. Go and grow.